Let's talk about alcohol. It's that liquid gold that obliterates inhibitions and is to blame for many good, but mostly bad decisions all over the world. You see it in every store, on every ad, and in every home. Vodka, beer, gin, whiskey, wine, whatever. Alcohol is everywhere. And that's probably why you don't think twice about the fact that when you drink alcohol, you're literally drinking poison, and it's killing cells all over your body. It's viciously addictive, and it's why alcohol contributes to 5% of global deaths every year. Yet all you're concerned with is getting drunk or not getting hungover.
Mickey.
Well, that hangover and drunkenness is absolutely disrupting your system, but it's nothing compared to the rest of the damage that's really being done. So, let me show you what alcohol actually does to the brain and body, how the effects last far longer than you probably think, and what you can do to reverse or limit the damage.
No amount of alcohol is good for your overall health.
Having just one drink a day could impact your brain.
Shrinking brain cells and damaging the connections between them.
Don't drink. Don't drink.
Okay, let's go. Alcohol can be traced back to around 10,000 BCE when humans first discovered the fermentation process, when natural sugars in fruits and grains are converted into alcohol through the use of yeast. It has since played a significant role in social, religious, and cultural events all around the globe, and despite the compounding evidence around the negative effects of alcohol, the failure of prohibition in America and the Soviet Union makes it clear that this bittersweet nectar of the gods is here to stay. So instead of telling you why you should stop drinking alcohol, I'm just going to tell you what chronic consumption actually does. But first, we need to define what chronic consumption is. 1 standard drink per day on average. So that includes 1 drink every night, 7 drinks every weekend, or 30 drinks once a month. Alcohol comes in 3 main forms: isopropyl, methyl, and ethyl. Isopropyl, also known as isopropanol or rubbing alcohol, is commonly used in cleaning products, disinfectants, and hand sanitizers. Methyl, also known as methanol or wood alcohol, is mostly used in things like paintings, varnishes, and fuel. Lastly, ethyl, also known as ethanol or grain alcohol, is primarily used for fuel, cleaning, and of course, drinking. All forms of alcohol are poisonous, but only ethanol is fit for human consumption, and is what I'll be referring to every time I say alcohol from here on. Alcohol is both fat-soluble and water-soluble. What that means is that unlike other drugs that need to bind to receptors to trigger signals and reactions in the body, alcohol passes straight through cells and tissues, affecting them directly. This is what makes it so damaging to your health and is why your body needs to convert it into something less toxic. And it does this with the help of 2 enzymes. An enzyme is a type of chemical that speeds up processes in the body, like breaking down alcohol. And the 2 main enzymes that do this are alcohol dehydrogenase and aldehyde dehydrogenase. Both of these enzymes are found in many tissues and organs throughout the body, but are mostly abundant in the liver where alcohol is mainly metabolized. When you drink alcohol, most of it gets absorbed through the walls of your stomach and small intestine, then into your bloodstream. This is when the liver begins to metabolize alcohol at a rate of approximately 1 standard drink per hour, leaving any excess alcohol in the bloodstream to damage other organs. Whatever alcohol does reach your liver first gets converted into acetaldehyde with the help of the enzyme alcohol dehydrogenase. Acetaldehyde is the chemical responsible for the dizziness and shallow breathing when you're drunk and is even more poisonous than ethanol, which is why the second enzyme aldehyde dehydrogenase helps convert most of it into acetate, which is a molecule that can be turned into energy. Look, if all that was a little too much science, then just remember this. Alcohol converts to acetaldehyde, and a percentage of that turns into acetate. Whatever acetaldehyde is left gets into the bloodstream and along with any excess alcohol starts poisoning other parts of your body. So, what determines how much acetaldehyde and alcohol gets into your bloodstream? Well, there's a few things. Some you have control of and some you don't. What you don't have control of is your genes. Things like body composition, gender, and ethnicity, and depending on which ones you've inherited, determines how fast or slow you process alcohol. That's why some people can drink all night and some can't drink at all. If you've ever seen Asians go red after drinking alcohol,
it's called the Asian flush.
It's because they have a gene variant that slows the metabolism of acetaldehyde 100-fold, which means there's that much more acetaldehyde immediately damaging the cells. That's why even a mouthful of alcohol can get their hearts racing, their heads thumping, and of course their faces reddening. And then there's what you can control, like food. The more of it in your gut, the slower alcohol gets absorbed into your bloodstream, which is why you get drunk faster on an empty stomach or feel less drunk after eating. You can also obviously control how much and how quickly you drink. As I mentioned earlier, the liver breaks down about 1 standard drink every hour, so however much more you exceed that will determine the amount of alcohol damaging your cells. So what exactly is the damage being done? Well, let's start with your brain. In order for your brain to function, your heart pumps nutrient-rich blood to it through your blood vessels. Because other harmful substances like bacteria or viruses may also be circulating in your blood, the blood vessels in your head have special walls that help stop these toxins from leaking out and directly damaging your brain. We call this the blood-brain barrier. The only problem is that this special wall has a weakness. Small fat-soluble substances can pass right through it, and as we now know, alcohol is one of them. When too much alcohol passes through the blood-brain barrier, it pretty much affects all areas of the brain. What this means is the communication between neurons gets disrupted, causing you to lose control of a wide range of functions, some of which you're probably familiar with. Like the loss in the ability to weigh up pros and cons in a situation, or the loss of inhibition leading to impulsive behavior, or of course, the loss of coordinated movement and alertness. You know, the slurring, the slouching, the body getting heavier and heavier until eventually you pass out. Surely, you've felt all of this before, but what you're likely less aware of is how alcohol is affecting your brain in the long term. For example, did you know chronic alcohol consumption can make you more impulsive and drawn to addictive behavior even when you're not drinking?
40,500,000 all in.
This means you're more impulsive and prone to addiction when you're sober, and even more so when you're drunk. And you can see how that becomes a vicious cycle. The same goes for areas of the brain involved in the release of dopamine and serotonin, which essentially make you feel good as a reward for drinking alcohol and motivates you to do it again. The issue here is the constant release of dopamine and serotonin downregulates receptors in the brain, causing a lower baseline level of each. What that means is that on any given day you feel less happy and less motivated than if you hadn't drank at all. But it doesn't stop there, because your baseline level of cortisol also changes, except it gets higher. And because cortisol is the stress hormone, you end up feeling more stressed when you're not drinking, which only makes you want alcohol even more, to de-stress. These three compounding cycles of addiction are what make alcohol the number 6 leading cause of premature death globally. Basically, if you drink alcohol habitually, you'll end up feeling more stressed, more depressed, and more addicted at all times. But of course, it still doesn't stop there, because I need to tell you about the damage it does to your gut. The gut, also known as the gastrointestinal tract or GI tract, is a complex system that breaks down food to absorb its nutrients. It includes the mouth, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, the rectum, and the anus. But maybe most important of all, it's home to trillions of microorganisms such as bacteria, fungi, and viruses, both the good and bad kind. This is what's referred to as the gut microbiome, and when balanced, it helps regulate our immune system, our metabolism, and our brain function. And the reason I'm telling you this is because alcohol kills most of the good bacteria in your gut, leaving only the bad bacteria to thrive. This causes an imbalance in your gut microbiome known as dysbiosis, which has been linked to numerous bowel diseases, obesity, and even anxiety and depression. That's why you might feel anxious after a night of heavy drinking, and also why you often have stomach pains the next day. All that bad bacteria is disrupting your gut. And if you combine that anxiety and stomach pain with a post-alcohol headache, you get what's been dubbed a hangover. And what causes the headache? Well, there's actually a few things. When you drink alcohol, it initially causes vasodilation of your blood vessels, which simply means they widen and increase blood flow to the skin and other organs. This is one of the reasons alcohol warms you up and may redden your skin during drinking. Once the alcohol is metabolized and the effects wear off, however, you experience vasoconstriction, where your blood vessels thin and reduce blood flow and nutrients to various organs, including the brain. This is part of what causes the headache after drinking, and is also why some people believe the best way to get over a hangover is to start drinking again. But all that's doing is causing temporary vasodilation of your blood vessels, which only end up being even more constricted when you finally sober up. Instead, you can use adrenaline to clear out alcohol faster from the bloodstream. And you do this by taking a cold shower or exercising. Both will get your adrenaline pumping and speed up alcohol metabolism. In fact, this actually helps reduce another factor contributing to your headache: lack of sleep. Research has shown that even just one alcoholic drink in your system can cause you to unknowingly wake up throughout the night, fragmenting your sleep and making you feel like you barely got any, which you haven't. Get the adrenaline flowing, however, and that headache should clear right up, unless of course it's being caused by dehydration. Because alcohol is a diuretic, which means it makes you pee more, you end up expelling excessive water and electrolytes through your urine. Electrolytes are minerals like sodium, potassium, and magnesium that carry an electric charge and are important for proper brain and bodily function. That's why it's best to stay hydrated and replenish your electrolytes before, during, and after drinking alcohol to prevent or reduce a hangover. I suggest coconut water if that's your thing. Otherwise, any electrolyte-filled drink will do. Of course, you might be tempted to take anti-inflammatory drugs like ibuprofen and aspirin, but I'd highly warn you against this because they end up damaging the gut even more. That's why people who chomp down anti-inflammatories end up feeling more pain the next time round, which makes them take even more anti-inflammatories, further damaging the body's ecosystem. Eventually, all the bad bacteria in alcohol damages the walls of your gut, allowing the bacteria to leak into your bloodstream and infect your entire body, including your brain. This is a condition called leaky gut, and it can lead to arthritis, psoriasis, heart disease, cancer, and much more. Which is why I believe repairing your gut microbiome is probably the most important thing to do after drinking alcohol. And you can do this with the help of probiotics, the good bacteria, and prebiotics, the fiber that helps good bacteria grow. So that includes fermented foods like yogurt, kimchi, and sauerkraut, and fibrous foods like garlic, onions, and asparagus. Or you can take probiotic and prebiotic supplements. It doesn't really matter. Just get your gut microbiome balanced so you can minimize the harm done by alcohol. Of course, you could stop drinking altogether to reverse most of the damage, but for many of you, I'm sure that's highly unlikely.
Now,